Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist Baldur's Gate Saga playthrough with SCS. And it is time for more adventuring.
Yes.
So as you can see now, Kiranai's stun has dissipated, but we need to heal up before we go on further, and I would like to use Jaheira's healing spells for that purpose, but the higher priority is that she stays in this bear form, actually, so we are going to use these small potions, which are not going to remain useful for long, actually, with the growing health pools in Baldur's Gate 2, and in Baldur's Gate 2 we are actually going to have a different, like, go-to potion, and we're going to get quite a few of both types of potions in this dungeon, but not just yet. So here Minsk has the best armor class, and he's going to be leading the charge. And here's another difference from SCS in this dungeon. Instead of the useless goblins that die in one hit, SCS introduces these Duergar dwarves. And they are basically the dark dwarves that reside in the Underdark primarily, and they are generally an evil race. And they are tougher than the goblins, and they can dish out more damage. So they shouldn't be anything that special when it comes to their threat levels, I guess, but, you know. They also fit better in this dungeon instead of the goblins, because there are some Duergar already in the unmodded game, just not as these, like, random opponents.
Yes.
Or not random, but, you know, these, like, smaller groups of non-unique opponents, I guess. Another difference from Baldur's Gate 1 to Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition is that we can, with the quick loot feature, we can instantly loot not only gold, but any item now, without the character actually having to go to the corpse and picking it up. So this is abusable in a couple of moments, which is something that I'm not going to do, of course, but just mentioning that looting is going to be even easier and faster in this one. This door is closed, so we shall progress this way. And also, one thing I want to say about this dungeon is that I really love it. You know, like, it's so good in so many different areas. Like, not only is it very, very nostalgic, you know, whenever I hear the music from this dungeon, it's just like, nostalgia overwhelms me. And also it's always involved, you know, in starting a new Baldur's Gate 2 playthrough, which is always an exciting time. Oh yeah, now they have these crossbow guys. And we really need to, like, move with one person close to them so that we can limit their damage dealing potential. And the situation is really dangerous for Kiranai, and we need to keep Imoen in the back. So yeah, this is why I didn't pre-buff with Imoen, pre-buff Stone Skin with her, because some of these crossbow guys, you know, could, like, focus her and cut through some of her Stone Skins, and I want to have all of their Stone Skins ready for a certain counter soon, but, you know, it's still a little ways to go. Okay. This was a little nasty when it comes to our damage received, but we're through, and I'm actually going to take not the battle axe, but the light crossbow and the bolts, and we're going to give that to Imoen, although she doesn't have the proficiency so her in crossbows, so her Thaco is not going to be that great, but at least she can do something from a distance.
Yes.
And I'm going to proceed to this room, and we actually have to, like, leave Kiranai out of it, because she is really... oh, come on, guys. She's really hurt. And actually Imoen is not needed there. So here another one of these methods. This one a mineral method. Doesn't do anything. But later on, like I said, there are some methods with some disabling spells that can get a little nasty. Here we're going to get access to some more equipment. So from this table we can get another Warhammer for Senashira, a longsword +1, which in our case is just going to be gold that we're going to get from selling it soon. Well, maybe not that soon, but once we are able, we can get these scimitars. One for Jaheira. She's going to have a nice one-handed combo, a medium shield and a scimitar once she is out of that bear form. And also, like, you can't really you know, equip weapons while shape change. That's why we had to have this small shield equipped before we shape change into that bear. We have a scroll. We have these bigger potions. We've seen them already in Baldur's Gate 1, although in the unmodded Baldur's Gate 1, of course, they are non-existent, but SCS brought them over, and mostly opponents used them, and I used them a few times for out-of-combat healing, but now they are going to be our main, like, standard go-to healing potion, and with them healing 27 hit points, they are pretty nice. And this other scimitar is going to go to Kiranai once we are actually close to her, so she can have a source of slashing damage, although for now her dagger +1 is going to be better. I have a longbow with 4 arrows. And Minsk is going to get that.
Speak.
Okay, now we can regroup and we can finally heal Kiranai a little bit better.
Yes.
I'm going to heal Senashira as well. Alright, now we're kind of back in business.
Jump on my sword while you can, Evil. I won't be as gentle.
Now we want Minsk leading the charge, kind of.
Live a
You can count on
good
me.
long
Yes.
time.
Oh yeah, these steam methods can do some AoE damage. They can stun, as you can see. And of course, almost everyone got stunned. Unfortunately, this stun is way shorter in duration, so we're already back.
What is quickly and
Yeah,
precise.
depending on which methods you get here, there are ones that can blind you. And there are ones that... This ice method has some like AoE ice spells that can deal some damage, but they're not a big deal in general. Right, there's going to be a conversation from Imoen that triggers once we're around in this area, but it didn't trigger because we were in combat immediately, but it will trigger on our way out. Here we can get some more goodies. Can get a quarterstaff +1. Some sling bullets.
What is this? Will not take long.
And here we have a little bit more arrows. So now we have 9. And this will go to Jaheira.
Speak.
And now the conversation.
I know this room. I've been in here. We both have. There are things in these tanks. They used to be people.
Yeah, pretty freaky. What kind of monster is this guy? Yeah, we don't even know where we are, and my head is still doing funny things. He said something about potential. Something like releasing power within you so it could be used. But if it means taking part in horrible things, I don't like this place. Can we go? Yeah, Imoen is going to be pretty chatty in these beginning parts. She is very shaken by the experiences that we've took part in this far. Here there's a little room with 2 lesser clay golems, and we're going to deal with them right now instead of later, because
Yes,
they
it
are
must be done.
like friendly right or neutral right now. They just stare ahead and they are inactive, but there is a certain event later on that makes them active,
I'll stand back.
and before that happens we can already deal with them here
What
at
is
a more advantageous position here for us, and they give 2,000 experience each. Come on, attack guys. Right,
Will be done. Speak.
so they are dealt with. 4 more 1,000 experience for us, and we can proceed. Another group of Duergar. Fortunately, they're not positioned that well. This one crossbowman is already kind of like in melee range, and we're going to freak the other one with Minsk coming closer. So as you can see, this is all SCS AI improvements. That ranged attackers like these ones are going to try to escape or then eventually switch into melee option.
What is it?
So
Speak.
yeah,
Direct
don't
me
need
as you
anything
will.
else. They only have chain armor, so we have the same or better. And here is going to be Rielev, the creature or the person that Attica, the genie, mentioned.
Yes, it will be done.
Who be thee? Servants of the master?
By the gods, what happened to you, man? I am servant to no one. Who are you? It is difficult to remember. I was Rielev, dead, I think. So the master, he was my friend, I think, cast out, and one of us no longer. I cannot remember. Are you to take my place? Yeah, stranger be. Things have gone bad since I have died. Threaten not the master, for you shall surely perish. Driven is he, and power he seeks. So yeah, in order to progress the conversation, we have to ask about the escape. Yeah, he says that he's forgotten by the master. He was a faithful servant to him, but a friend even. But he was dying, I guess, and eternal life was to be my reward for faithful service. The master has suspended me until he can cure me, return my youth to me. I begin to understand. The master has left my side for study of another. He seeks to awaken power, a study of life and death, but I cannot bear the roll of years. He has forgotten because he does not wish to remember what was taken. I barely remember myself.
Release. Yes. Master, I no longer wish to come back.
Let me slip into the oblivion that has been denied me, please. So yeah, this poor creature was like left there in this like dying form, just preserved, waiting for like probably forever, because he was forgotten now. The master apparently didn't even seem to like keep working on some kind of a cure for him. And yeah, he explains the power cells, that his like chamber, this container here, is powered by a cell, and he wants the one to his container removed. And he also mentions that there are other like prisoners or like test subjects, I guess, in other containers like this, that we would be able to power with these with the power cells, like other experiments. Of course, as always, feel free to pause and read for yourself. Have peace at last.
I thank thee. Go and leave me to oblivion at last.
Yeah, poor guy.
He's dead now? This pathetic creature.
Yeah, so Imoen mentions the scars on her mind, basically. She cannot look away when facing death. Here, of course, some of the conversation options like, yet another corpse in my wake. Or, we have no more time for your morbid fascinations. Like, this one is the only normal one. Death is pretty. Why would I think that? Oh, Senashiro, I've got to get out of this place. Yeah, these experiments have had an effect on Imoen for sure. Anyway, we have some more bullets, we have some more potions, we have this activation stone for a golem that I completely ignored. I actually forgot to tell you that we just basically ignored a certain golem in a room earlier, just because without this activation stone we wouldn't be able to do much with him. And here are the energy cells that we used, you know, after the conversation. We got them because we, you know, unpowered his cell or whatever. The golem here, I mean, this is the activation stone for him. And also, in this room, as you can see, some of these containers are, or tubes or whatever, are just inspectable, but some of them are usable. And without the power cells, we wouldn't be able to activate them. We wouldn't be able to power them on, but now we can actually have a couple of conversations. And not too much is going to come out of them, but we can get some clues. Yeah, Master, is that you? I can barely see. And basically the common thing is that we won't be able to communicate with these creatures there, or, you know, former people, I guess, but we will be able, from the ramblings, to get some clues, I guess. But they will not be able to hear us or see us. Yeah, he mentions the mistress's room, that he didn't mean to go into it, and because it's apparently dangerous in there. And that's basically the thing you get from this conversation is, you know, the mistress's room apparently is like very deadly. So we can kind of put together the fact that it's probably trapped, and that room is very heavily trapped. But there's, you know, we can't do anything for him. Now this one, yeah, behind this prison of glass do I weep and rage. Yeah, they just keep calling the master. Why hast thou forsaken me? Yeah, apparently he was placed there out of kindness, but thou hast forgotten me. Have I simply slipped from thy thoughts? Yeah, thou couldst not cure what was done, but surely thy magics have increased, master. Yeah, poor creature, we can do nothing for them. Very unfortunate. And there's also this one. He mentions the golem that can open some cells, and he has the key, apparently. And he mentions also the key at the table in the jailer's room, the one we were able to use to free Jaheira. So yeah, some more clues, and final conversation is here. This one is the saddest one, in my opinion. Like, the light, ages of weariness, ages of burning, my master, I beg of you. I am no master of yours. And we can ask about the imprisonment. It is burning me, my skin is afire with the crawling of ants. Oh, please, master, save me. I am not like your genie to be coiled within a bottle for So yeah, he mentions a genie, that's basically the clue, but the thing that strikes me the most here is that he is trapped here, suffering like an eternal burning pain. Have you ever been like burnt by like boiling water? Like, imagine having to feel this all the time. Yeah, and he mentions the genie because, you know, he wants to have some kind of a cure for the pain, and maybe the genie has a power like that. He suggests that, but also he says, I will take the statue and speak to him myself, if you will but let me. So he mentions some kind of a statue that's needed to reach the genie. Yeah, the genie must have magic, must have something. Yeah, and Jaheira has a good comment here, that it is monstrous that one would do such a thing to a servant, lock him away in an eternity of pain. So yeah, and, there's nothing that we can do, unfortunately, for these people. Yeah, so the golem here has the key to open a couple of doors, but we first have to activate him with that activation stone. But we're going to do that later. First, we're going to progress a little further, and we need to like heal a little bit more. And also Minsk needs to heal.
Who says?
Speak.
What?
Good to go?
Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to say about Minsk, of course, just like we had in Baldur's Gate 1, because of the component from SCS, Boo is actually moved from occupying one of his quick slots back to his inventory. So he's kind of like a familiar in that way, a mage's familiar. And he also has the fixed squeak.
Yes, quickly and precisely.
Ready and right as rain.
What is it? Without hesitation.
Alright, so another group of these guys.
Some gotcha.
Everyone can shoot her crossbow, but it's not going to be too effective. And I should have moved someone just to limit the damage coming from these crossbowmen, which are the main damage dealers here, I guess.
You wouldn't hurt me. What if it must be done?
So quick looting.
Speak.
Here there's going to be a special room where I'm going to like try to pull some guys over to here, because this one is a pretty big open room, and also if you fight here, sometimes because of the better calls for help component from SCS, guys from a room over here can like actually come in and see what's up, come into this room, and I don't want to fight them all at once, so I'm going to try to like pull them. And it's going to be a more advantageous position for ourselves as well,
Yes, it will be done.
to have them here. I'm kind of fumbling with my
What
clicking.
is certainly?
Kirana is just receiving the damage. You know, of course, for our Kansai ladies, the thing is that we don't have pretty much any buffs, the likes of which we used in Baldur's Gate 1, like potions or spells to increase their armor class, and you know, as Kansai they cannot use any helmets, so they are at this point in the game very vulnerable to damage. As you can see, they you know, their armor class is not going to be that great because they can't wear any armor. We can't buff up their armor class with any spells, so or potions. So yeah, it's a
Direct me
little
as you will.
tough on them in these beginning stages. Jaheira has one barkskin spell,
What is
and
it?
I am going to use that at one point, but not now, and I want her in bear form still.
You wouldn't hurt me.
So these smoke methods can go invisible. And there's going to be a comment from Imoen once this battle music stops.
Oh, this reminds me so much of Candlekeep. Dusty old tomes all over, bookcases nearly spilling. It's like we never left.
But we did, didn't we? Sinashira, I just want to go home again. It doesn't matter where it is, just so long as I can call it home.
Speed will be done.
Poor Imoen. We have a couple of things to loot from these bookshelves.
Minsk and Buk. Where
Yes,
Minsk
certainly.
goes, evil stands aside.
This is going to take a second. There are some decent things here and
What is it?
another method
Without doubt.
to take care of. One oil of speed, very nice. Like these bookshelves here, I'm certain that they have nothing, just different books, but I'm going to check these ones a little bit to the north of these two. Okay,
Yes.
nothing. So here there's going to be another passage that we cannot access yet, because there's going to be a closed door at the end of it. These passages all link to kind of like a central room that we're going to visit a little bit later. And yeah, now comes the encounter where I wanted Imoen to be uninterruptible, so I'm going to buff her up with Stone Skin, because I would like to use some of her spells. They're not ideal for what we're, going to do here, but at least there's something that we can use to help ourselves in this encounter.
What is it? Speed.
Alright, everyone's here. I would like to heal Kirinai. Okay, we have a big potion, that's nice. Scrolls are going to go to Imoen, and jewelry, I guess. That weighs nothing. Oh, and we can give that to Sinashira, and we can give this scimitar to Kirinai.
Yes, without hesitation.
Right, and now we're going to go in with Sinashira, I guess, and Imoen.
You are.
Me timber bad enough without ye bothering me.
Yeah, so here are some more Duergar, and they are always here in the unmodded game as well. And here we have Illich, their leader. You've come to the wrong place, I tell you true. Illich and his boys will stop you. Stop rhyming, dwarf. And there's no way of getting out of this encounter, so all that stand in my way shall fall. And there's a couple of these guys, they have one mage. That shouldn't be too dangerous, but basically
All right.
I am going to throw in that web inside, and it's not going to be too helpful because we don't really have that many like ranged weapons right now at our disposal, but it is going to be something. We're going to be able to soften them up a little bit through that. Alright, nice one. We have 9 arrows on Minsk, and we have these 33 bolts on Imoen, who's not even proficient with the crossbow, but she's the only person that can use it. Our Kensai ladies can't. And Jaheira, I could shapeshift her back to her human form so she can use... Oh, we didn't even pick up the sling. I think I had the opportunity to pick up a sling, but I didn't, so nice one. But yeah, Minsk and Imoen are going to be able to soften them up a little bit, and Imoen is also going to use the lightning bolt. And that's why I also wanted to have them here grouped up like that, and not with our guys in the midst of the whole, in the middle of that combat, so the lightning bolt is not a danger to us, but can hopefully do some damage to, a couple of them. And as you can see also, or as you can maybe hear, the web in Baldur's Gate 2 also has a different sound, doesn't have that very loud sound every round. Yeah, I'm going to use that lightning bolt on this guy.
Who says?
On Illich, let's try to soften him up. Boom. We did manage to damage quite a few of them there, so that's very nice.
You point.
And we can keep shooting for as long as Minsk has arrows at least. That's 4 more. Alright, nice. It's actually going better than expected. Usually it doesn't go that well. But we managed to kill like 3 of them, I think. Alright, Minsk is out of arrows. Now we're just going to wait it out. Wait the web out. We could throw in some magic missile on Illich maybe. Or a chromatic orb. I think I'm going to leave that for later encounters. Oh, actually you can keep shooting. What am I doing? You can still add some of your amazing damage onto that guy. Okay, so some of the pre-buffs triggered quite a few times on that mage because he's like on the border of our vision, I guess. Alright, Illich actually has a sling, but, web is, like I said in Baldur's Gate 1 in one of the episodes, that even in Baldur's Gate 2, web is actually a pretty good spell, especially if you can cast a couple of webs, so that opponents have to save a couple of towns, couple of times each round. Alright, so Illich managed to heal himself a little bit, but he's not long for this world. Okay, and the mage is casting. So let's try to spread out a little bit, minimize the effects of glitter dust on Jaheira, and wow, everyone except Jaheira actually was blinded, which is not good. Not very good at all. That means we can't use ranged weapons with MON. And he's running... Okay, fortunately he didn't run into that hallway because there's a trap there. A charm person on Kiranai who saved, and now he's cornered. Now it should be over for him. Alright, nice. Fortunately, morale on Illich broke, so he's just running around in fear. Alright, and that's it.
Certainly. Those dwarves that attacked us. I read about them when you were skipping out of lessons back in Candlekeep.
Yeah, he says that, she says that here because normally in the unmodded game that's your first encounter with the Duergar. Yeah, kind of evil I guess, so I'm not surprised they would be working for a captor. And we can comment that, you know, he has smiths for the knives probably. The knives, he has a lot of them. I'm going to have a couple of scars from this. Looks like you will too. As if I need another reminder. Yeah. So kind of the usual comment from Imoen. I'm not sure if this thing is trapped or not. Nope. Not even locked. I'm misremembering. And I'm just going to loot Illich personally here. He has the Mail of the Dead. So another item that we imported basically well, from Baldur's Gate 1. And not really imported, but you know, it's the default choice of armor. And we just went with that. We didn't want anything else. And he also has these acorns, which are a quest item. And he has a sling for Jaheira, and this Mail of the Dead is going to be a little better for Minsk, and that splint mail is going to go on Jaheira later. Now we can rest, we can loot the rest of them like this. And get some sling bullets, and we can loot these containers. We have these throwing axes, but I'm not going to pick them up. Actually, I am going to pick them up. Because they give us a potential ranged option, even though we are not proficient in it, for our Kensai ladies. And here we have throwing daggers. Yes, at last. Kiranai is going to be able to use something that's very good for her and very familiar. We have a nice looking helm that Minsk is going to receive. This is going to stay in Senashira's inventory. And yeah, that's it for now, but only 20 of these throwing daggers, so I'm not going to use them all the time. I'm going to try to use them when they are going to be the most useful. And here's a club for Jaheira. So that's very nice. More potions, more arrows for Minsk. And that's it for now. Now this door is locked, we can't go through yet. And there's a trap on the way that Imoen is going to disarm for us. Boom. And here we're going to come upon a interesting chamber and an interesting opponent. Here is a Cambion that's apparently stuck in stasis due to this machine, as we will get to know once we click on it. And he can be a little tough opponent, and it shouldn't be too big of a deal, and we're going to use our thrown daggers for him, certainly. And basically, you know, the thing is that if we interact with this machine one more time, it's going to free him, and we're going to be able to fight him and kill him. That's exactly what we're going to do. So he's free now, and we can hopefully kill him without receiving too much damage. Unfortunately, he managed to do 19 damage, pretty high damage, on Senashira. Well, that's okay, we have plenty of potions. And now he, in the Enhanced Edition, has this Sword of Chaos +2. Normally it wouldn't be here, and I'm going to elaborate more on that once we kind of come upon a certain person a little bit later. But this is Saravok Sword of Chaos. So yeah, presumably, you know, after we defeated him at the end of Baldur's Gate 1, we were able to loot him off, looted this off of him. And but as it says, the sword was likely forged specifically for Saravok to best focus the infernal energy he hoped to control. Much of its power died with him, so that's why it's only a +2 sword. But it's still a a nice thing to have for right now, and it has this nice little 1 hit point drain on hit to provide a little bit more longevity to our melee fighters, and of course that's a perfect weapon for Minsk to use. So yeah, in the Enhanced Edition, in this version, we can get the Sword of Chaos from here. Normally we would get it later. And now also, because of, how much backtracking we would have to do now in order to get back to this golem here, we're just going to use Control J and teleport ourselves here. So that's a great example. This dungeon, we're going to Control J a couple of times because there's a lot of going like back and forth between these different places. Anyway, now we can talk to this golem. And, yeah. Oh yes, it is I, your master. Have you been performing any services for me? Yeah, so he mentions that he fed the guardian, and he cleaned the sewer chambers. Do you wish to open the doors to the pit and begin my duties again? Yeah, I do wish it. So we need to have the stone to activate his movement functions, and we of course have the activation stone. So now he's going to be able to go and open a couple of doors for us. Open a couple of doors to this central chamber, the pit, I guess. But he also mentioned a guardian, and that guardian is an Otyag, which is a pretty annoying creature because it's immune to missile damage, so we can't really deal with it from range. And if we engage it in melee, it has a very annoying property on hit where it can disease us, and that disease is going to periodically deal damage to us and also slow us. So that's very annoying. Also, you were going to go back to your melee dagger. Also, one thought from like way previous that I wanted to talk about this dungeon, that I love it, but there are some people that really dislike it, and like there's even a mod called Dungeon Be Gone that allows you to like teleport yourself from the beginning, like from your start here. There's a guy that can teleport you to the end of the dungeon and give you all the experience and all the loot that you would have gotten if you just went through it. And I just don't understand that. Maybe if you want to test a mod or a character quickly, that's okay for that purpose, but generally, like, I don't understand any dislike for this dungeon. It's so cool, and like I said, so much nostalgia and new playthrough, and it's just an exciting time, and it's just a cool dungeon. I really like it. And we're not going to use ranged weapons on Imoen, and I think I'm going to keep Senashira out of this fight, because if she gets slowed, this is going to really slow down our looting, because of course she's the character I use mostly, I use for looting everything and, exploring and stuff. So yeah, the golem, as you can see, is still at work opening these doors, all of these passages, and unfortunately Minsk got slowed and diseased, so he's going to receive a couple of points of damage over time. Here we have a little Wand of Frost key. There's going to be a couple of these wand keys of different types, and we're going to be collecting them for a little bit later.
What is it?
So here this passage, this connector basically connects to the beginning cages, which I didn't explore, and there's one method to kill here. So now, we wouldn't be able to progress any further because this door would have been locked. But now we can do it. Kill this method and explore the map fully. Oh yes, now we can see everything that this passage had to offer for us, which is nothing else. Anyway. Fortunately, this Otyag slow and disease doesn't last for too long, so Minsk is already fine. And here we're going to unlock and untrap a couple of these containers and loot some more goodies. We have a short bow for Imoen, but we don't have really enough arrows to do much with it. So I have some more potions and a helmet of infravision, which is completely useless, but it's going to provide us with some gold once we sell it. Yeah, Helm of Infravision, quarterstaff +1 that I didn't identify, and she is even able to identify the longsword +1. Okay, you can take this scroll. We can have this on Kirinai, I guess. These scrolls, of course, you can use, cast these spells from scrolls, and I might do that at some point when it comes to certain situations and certain spells, but generally I would like to just collect these scrolls for later so that I can scribe them to Senashira's spellbook once she dual classes into a mage. And of course, this passage connects to that library area. And here we have more Duergar.
What is it?
Another group of them, and Imoen cannot block Minsk.
Speak.
So he can be still useful, maybe, if he gets to this guy fast enough. Yeah, Minsk! And Jaheira, you know, Jaheira in this bear form, she does the damage, you know, she has many attacks, she has good damage. She's way more useful in that form
Without hesitation.
here than she would have been in her, like, half-elf
Yes.
Jaheira form.
What is this?
And here the game is going to provide us with a little hint that you suddenly sense danger. It's basically the game's way of telling us to, like, be careful here and try to detect traps, because there are traps on the ground here.
Yes, I thought as much.
And not only on the ground, but
Count on me.
you know, this is a trapped room, generally. And
If it must be done.
here we can get another item that we kind of exported from Baldur's Gate 1. Here we have the Helm of Baldur, which in Baldur's Gate 2 is still an excellent helmet. It's a very good, like, all-around helmet when you don't need to equip anything situational that would give you any resistances or immunities or anything like that. And I think Jaheira is going to get that, and is going to keep it pretty much for the rest of the game. You know, except for these situations where she's going to have to, like, equip something
Time to move.
something
This way,
situational. And I forgot to unlock this.
Yes, it will be done.
Right, so here we have another wand key. This one is a wand of lightning. Another scroll. Here we have this air elemental statuette. So this is something that we've already heard about from that one test subject, I guess. And here we have the Amulet of Metaspell Influence that is going to give arcane casters an extra second level spell slot, which isn't really going to matter for Imoen right now, but you know,
What is
she
it?
can have it on.
Speak. Certainly.
Protect me.
Protect me.
So yeah, here we have 3 Dryads, a little personal harem of our captor, I guess. And they implore us to free them. We are his possessions, his servants, his concubines. Please help us to escape. This one always cracks me up. I shall neither help nor free you. This is so funny. Anyway, how can I help you? If you can escape, you must take our acorns to the queen. Tell her of our plight in this creature's lair. Take them to the fairy queen, who lives in the south end of the Windspear Hills. This will be our deliverance from this Irenicus and his dungeon. So here Jaheira, you know, heard that we finally have a name for our captor, Irenicus. And yeah, they are here to supposedly instill emotion in him, but he is barren inside. I'm not sure what he expects. So yeah, of course, just to provide a little comment here, nymphs, dryads, and sirens are supposed to be these creatures that are, you know, magically so alluring, so attractive that basically, you know, no one can resist their charms. But apparently, this Irenicus here, they don't affect him at all. So he's so, like, empty and cold inside, I guess. So yeah, we already have the acorns, of course, that we looted from Illich, but let's just be more inquisitive. Yeah, they cannot leave their trees. If we are separated from our trees, we will die. And of course, this is something that we've also seen in Baldur's Gate 1, when these creatures separated from their natural habitat just waned and died. So yeah, they say basically the same thing again. Yeah, but he has taken the acorns. He knows of our plans. It amuses him. And they mention Illich, and of course we already have the acorns, but we can ask about Illich. It's the clan chief of the master's Duergar slaves. He is somewhere within the dungeon. Yeah. Yeah, you have done a noble thing for us. Please take these acorns to the fairy queen. Yeah, we've heard that. We will help you escape. You must use the portals to travel up the next level of the complex. This is how Irenicus travels. The portals are triggered by a certain key. He uses her key. He still loves her, you see. He keeps her room just as it was, though well protected. We go there sometimes and look at her things. May the forest always be home. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. So they provide us a clue that the key is located in her room. And that's the mistress's room that we've heard about from earlier. And we've also heard that it's very dangerous, and it is heavily trapped.
Yep, gotcha.
And also, this is not a trap, but when we enter through this passage, an alarm is going to be sounded, and this alarm would activate these 2 golems that we've already dispatched away earlier, but they would be activated and they would come here to deal with us. And we would have to fight both of them at the same time. Yeah, so there's the alarm that, in our case, of course, does nothing because the golems are dead, and...
What is this place? It's beautiful. Oh, there is simply no way that this space belongs to the same person that owns those horrible glass containers.
Yeah, so kind of a beautiful elven-like room, and something does not add up here, you know? Like, this is, you know, like her room, some kind of a love interest of Irenicus that he just left completely untouched. But how could she ever have lived here? You know, this is not a place where a person of her race would ever spend any time, let alone, you know, all of the other things. But, you know, the other rooms and everything could have changed since she was here last time. But, you know, it's very unlikely that she would live underground here. Apparently he spoke of this lost love to Imoen. She despises him. This is his monument to her. He spoke of all this, but his voice was cold. No emotion at all, not even remembered. He spoke of these things even while he cut, and the spells that wove through my brain, cold, ugly things. It still hurts. His sick fingers are still in my head, doing whatever it was he started. I see blood and death behind my eyes. This room, if he could care for anything, he would care for this room, above the lives of all of us. It makes me sick. I feel so much hate. I would burn this place, but it is nothing. Even as it means so much, it is nothing. Let's do what we must and get out of this place. It's making me sick. Yeah, man. It's making me sick as well. It sickens me. Also, you can see that, that we get way more experience from disarming traps and opening locks. And this is actually a viable way of getting experience in a couple of moments, a couple of places. And yeah, I didn't want to, you know, I know that we are way over time. This episode is going to be a little longer one, but you know, first of all, I just can't stop myself playing. I just want to keep going. And other thing, you know, I just didn't want to leave end the episode after, you know, these Dryads mentioned that room. I didn't want to like just cut the episode there without actually seeing the room and what it can offer. So here is the portal key that we will be able to use to travel to the next level. Here we have a couple of items. This is a combination jewel. Like in Baldur's Gate 2, there's going to be items that we can combine out of a couple of reagents that we can craft or upgrade. And this is one for the Equalizer, a longsword that's pretty useless, and normally the jewel is just I think a 225 gold for me, but in this playthrough, the Completionist playthrough, we of course are going to assemble all of the items that we can. So Equalizer is going to be one of them, of course. Alright, and now we have explored everything in this part of this level, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will continue in the next one, and that is where I'm going to see you. So, see you there.